welcome to Lead Live, reminding you of your personal genius and how you think in order to actualize what you desire.
Well, good afternoon. And for some of you across the planet, good morning. It's an honor to be here with you. Another week. I think this is our 65th episode of Lead Live, LEAD standing for Leadership Excellence and Achievement on Demand. And I am honored to have with me today two brilliant, humble, unassuming guests. And the topic that we'll be discussing is a topic that actually they came up with. And I'm so inspired by it. And it is the power of leveraging the University of Life. We understand that it's important to invest in oneself, and literally the University of Life is the highest degree one could earn. We call it literally the way to ensure that you are the essence of who you were born to be. And so I'm going to move very quickly in bringing the guest on board. We're not going to talk about their bio first, as I typically do, but I want to mention this. My guests, not only are they humble, they're also very powerful. Professionals who have gone in, who are committed to the game of life in terms of service first, and they serve with distinction, and mainly by ratcheting up the numbers of individuals and the quality of the experience of individuals who they're able to help become home buyers. And while enhancing the competencies of existing real estate professionals, whether they're seasoned or whether they're newcomers and affiliates who aim to do the same. And we know that one means of ensuring that not only the creation of wealth, also the carrying forward of wealth among generations is through home ownership. So I want to thank them for choosing to function in a way that is not only positive, adds value, but ultimately leads to sustainability in terms of people's assets when done well. And that's what these two remarkable women are about. So I'm bringing on board Georgia, brilliant Georgia Richardson, broker, lead broker associate. And this remarkable woman also, Dr. Angela, she's also with the same agency, and we're going to talk a bit about what they do. But before we do that, I'd like to ask Georgia first and then Dr. Angela to tell us something about herself that we would otherwise not know because you can't find it on social media. And it's not in the bio that I'm going to share with you. Georgia?
Okay, there are probably a lot of things, but I'm trying to just identify one. And I think the one that I'm going to mention is going to carry over into our conversation. And that is that I was a teen mom at 18. And I think that will lead into, a lot of what we talk about today.
Excellent. Thanks for sharing that. And now I know that that son is a brilliant young man now. Because of you, your husband, and just what you were able to build. Dr. Angela, share something with us.
Okay, well, if you notice, my name is Dr. Angela Cleo Smith. And Cleo is a name very few people probably know the story. It came from when I was younger, and it was a group of girls, young girls, and we decided to change our name, but it had to be a name that somebody we looked up to, someone we respected, and someone we wanted to be like. And so I took the name Cleo from Cleopatra Jones in the movie Cleopatra Jones. And I've been using that name for at least 30 years.
Wow. And why did you take that name, and why Cleopatra Jones? What was it about the personification?
Her persona was she helped others. She had dignity. She had excellence. She had integrity. She was 6'2" of dynamite. She drove a nice sports car. And as a young woman, yeah, I want to be like her. She was bad.
I love it. I love it. I love it. That's a nice way to begin. And I'm assuming you both are doing well today.
Yes,
Yes,
doing great.
Excellent.
doing
Yeah,
great.
well,
And yourself? And how are you doing?
I am very honored. I can't but help but be fortunate, not only to be able to be with you two brilliant women, but just be able to be vertical and engaged in a way like you to add value. So let's get to you because folks are here to hear you. So Georgia, uh, for the audience, you are a veteran in real estate. You've been around in this role in the East Bay community since 1984. And you've been with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services as an associate broker for some time. And you, first and foremost, you indicated that really the most salient thing about you is having that child and having that child when you were 18. You ran a real estate agent and your own office as an office manager as well, exposed to real estate because of your mom
Right.
and her leadership, right?
Yes.
And you experienced several market booms, slowdowns, shifts, crashes during your 37 years in real estate, or excuse me, you owned a brokerage, and that's the thing that's in my head, called Richardson Real Estate Services for 15 years, and you own investment property. You've mentioned to me some of your remarkable successes, not only in real estate, but beyond, which I want us to talk about in a few moments. Most importantly, you pride yourself in providing, as foreshadowed earlier, providing service for her clients that's beyond expectations, folks. Yeah, people expect to have their household or to purchase a home, and you do more than that to ensure that they understand the value of their own work, their own priorities, their own mindset. Success for you is not measured by commission dollars, although you benefit from what you do in terms of commission dollars. Your goal is to list, to sell, to exceed the expectations of your clients by ensuring that they understand their responsibility, their capacity, and how they can leverage assets like a home or real estate. Your passion continues to be helping people realize their dream of home ownership and helping sellers maximize their net proceeds from the sale and helping them both create generational wealth. And folks, this broadcast Lead Live, it embedded in leadership excellence and achievement on demand, is helping people understand the power of the 5 F's: faith, family, fitness, finance, and fun. And what these two professionals do, these women, these remarkable human beings do, is facilitate just that through their work. And people are like, you're a real estate broker. How hard could that be? What's the big deal? No, you're making it a big deal because it's not just about these one-off transactions. It's much bigger.
Right.
And so let's go to Dr. Angela. She's from a family with 9 siblings. I started to say 6. I don't want to negate any one of them. And believes that home is the center of all of our lives. I love that. And you've moved around a lot, not only in California, but outside of California. And you both currently reside in Oakland, California. And Dr. Angela has lived here most of her life, and it led you to a path of living in many homes that were humble, but most importantly, home ownership. And you understand the importance of not only buying, but selling homes as an important decision that's so much more than the price tag. That's what you two have in common. It's more than commission, it's more than sell. It's really something very personal and should be so for each generation to come. And so Dr. Angela is fully committed to helping achieve real estate dreams through home ownership and more. She has a doctorate degree in public administration, which led her to social justice work and fair housing advocacy in support of homeless and addressing gentrification issues. She's a trainer in restorative justice practices and a diversity, uh, equity, and inclusion consultant, as well as a conflict resolution mediator. Most importantly, at the core of her experience in life is she knows that God answered her prayer. She asked the question, how can I serve? And now she knows exactly how she can serve. So There's more I could have read, there's more I could have shared, but I know you want to hear from these two women. So I want to begin with this most important question because of the title is, how do you define the University of Life? And either one of you can begin because I know you're a perfect complement.
Well, excuse me. First, I want to say, I want that bio that you wrote on my behalf. I'd like a copy of that. I'm like, wow. Well, to answer your question, I would say that the University of Life to me is education while living life, being educated while you're living life every day that you wake up and you put your foot on the floor and you thank God that you're here. It's going to a classroom. You don't know what to expect. And as you go along, each day that you come back, you are a different person because you've now experienced something different than you've ever experienced before. And that's every day. So I say that you're getting an education while you're living your life.
So you see life itself as a big classroom.
Exactly. While formal education, whether it be through our childhood, our young adult age, or moving into adulthood and into universities and colleges, the process there is more structured. You go with an expectation that you're going to learn. You know that you're going to have tests to make sure that you've learned what the intent of the class was. You grow from it, and then you take what it is that you've learned and you start applying it to your life. Now, some folks will stay in that line of whatever it is they are interested in. Some will make changes based on thinking they were interested in something and not in making those changes. So I think life is the same way. You have like I said, a classroom, and you're learning every single day, and you grow from your experiences. It's a series of experiences that mold you into who you are. There's that saying, by the grace of God, there go I. You see people that are on the street, you see different people's lives based on choices, whether it's something they chose or someone else in their life chose that caused them to be in that situation. So I'm thankful to be in the place that I was designed to be, and that the lessons that I've learned through choices that I've made in my life have brought me to a place at my age. I'm still growing and I'm still learning. So to me, life is like a big classroom that you continue to grow. You're tested. If you happen to not pass the test, guess what? It's going to show up again until you do.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's
And,
how I
and
view it.
how was it that you, there's so many assumptions about an 18-year-old who bears a child and has a child to rear. How was it that you were able to, as an 18-year-old, move to the place where you're at now as a more mature adult who's responsible and has literally built a business and then gone into to helping other people build businesses?
Well, I guess I'd have to start with the fact that the father of my child, we married. I conceived prior to graduating from high school. We figured that we took on adult activity that was, I was an honor student in school, destined to go to college, had everything laid out from my parents, who were actually my aunt and uncle. I felt honored as I understood more that they took me in as a child. I was the only child, and they put all they had into me. I wanted to make them proud, but I've made a poor choice, and I understood that at even a young age, and my husband did too. So we made the decision that we were going to get married. My father said, "You don't have to get married. You can go to school." And nobody thought that our marriage, it was just because of the baby, but it wasn't. He and I talked about it. We made the decision. We both came from a place of abandonment by our respective families, and we wanted a family that we didn't have a child that would have that experience. So that was kind of the underlying part of it. But he and I were in agreement. We were committed. We were married 35 years until he passed away in 2004. So we were determined to make our lives better and make our parents proud and not be a failure at something that we chose to do.
That's
Now,
remarkable.
it was,
And it shouldn't be said as remarkable. I say it's remarkable because what you did was at that age, both of you demonstrated leadership. Leadership is owning what you've done. Doesn't matter what you've done, you own it. Leadership is deciding. That's one powerful option that we have as adults. And then once you decide to literally follow through on it.
yes.
Now we're going to get more deep into that. There's something else you wanted to share before I cut you off, Georgia? My apologies.
No, I've forgotten what it was anyways.
I try not to do that. Okay, you're going to remember, so we're going to come back.
No,
Dr.
that's okay.
Angela, what does that question mean to you? That how do you define the University of Life?
Yeah, I try, excuse me, I try not to think about that topic that much. And then I said, it's going to come to me when we're sitting here. So this is what I came up with. So I see the University of Life as the universe of life, because I always connected with the universe, which was my outer God, because I have an inner God. And it's also your story. It's my story. It's everybody's story. And no one has the same one. So it's the decisions we make in life. It's the pathway we choose. It's the journey we're on. It's our own footprint. And if we made a mistake, we can always turn or back up, go to the left, and try to get it right. And Georgia mentioned that again, just like when you're in a classroom, you fail, you keep going till you get it right. And hopefully it's quicker than later. And hopefully you do get it. Some people may not, and just kind of living life, just going through the motions. So University of Life is what and who you are and who you're becoming, and because you're always growing. I know, like Georgia said, that we're never going to stop learning and growing. And so when you're living, it's exciting. And when I look back over my life and I see all the different patterns and pathways and people I met, and it's like, wow, that's great. But when you get down to the seriousness of making the right choices, you got to use your common sense. You still have to have morals and values, and have some belief system. I believe in God. So if whatever it is, let the Spirit take you there. And that's what University of Life has helped me, in addition to everything else that's going on.
And so what I hear from you, Dr. Angela, not that I need to paraphrase because you spoke beautifully, is the importance of being clear about who you are. And you don't have to know who you are fully, but everyone has a story. And the degree to which you're clear about your values, you get clear about who you are. Now, you two lead with passion, and why do you think? Where did that come from? Start with you, Dr. Angela. Where did your passion for life, for being who you are, for choosing to go beyond the expectations? Because you've done a lot of things in your short life. Your bio does not reflect that you were in broadcast. It doesn't show that you were a major public speaker. It doesn't show a lot of things. Why did you choose some of those things, and illuminate to the audience more of who you are in terms of what you've done?
Well, see, that's the thing. I was shoulded at throughout my whole life. Oh, Angela, you should do this. Angela, you should do that. But it wasn't until I decided that I wanted to do something for me. And what was that? So when I made the choices, sometimes the life chooses you. I mean, I wonder, so how did I get here again? Because it was not planned. People were saying, you should do this, you should do that, you should be a model, you should be a spokesperson, you should be on TV, you should do this. And so I'm doing it. And it wasn't until one day someone walked past me and said, you want to go back to school? And I said, yeah, I've been actually thinking about that. Gave me his card. He was the dean or the enrollment officer at the Peralta School District and for the PACE program. And it was like, that's finally, I'm making my own decision. I'm making my choice. So that's, I'm just going to stop there. I'm going to let that go.
And I know, don't stop there. How did that feel when you went to that place of making your own decision? How did it feel?
Yeah, it was like a breakthrough. I feel like people had more control over my life than I did, even though they didn't steer me in bad directions. I did a lot. And because I knew it was up to me. Once I got in, it was up to me to make, my actions and make my decision, make my moves. However, I wanted to do something for me. And that, again, that was my choice. And I was over 30 years old. And I said, I need to go back to school because my life, I've done a lot. And I'm 30. I own nightclubs. I did this. I did that. I was in 10 beauty pageants, won most of them. Not that that's something. It just taught me how to walk, to talk, to be a little more graceful. But when we go back to where does the passion come from? It's that spirit within, what we call inspiration. And I'm always inspired. I'm inspired. So that's how things happen.
Well, that inspiration is, it's impactful. And so my appreciation for you sharing that passion, that inspiration. And you mentioned education. And when you chose, rather than follow routes that were meaningful and helpful and good choices that other people really directed you towards, you chose education. And you didn't just start at a community college, you continued to earning your doctorate. Most people say, oh my God, that's the only way to success now. She did it. She's ultimately successful. What say you to that? Because like you, I understand the power of education. And yet, like you, and then I'm gonna let you fill in. What do you say to that?
Yes. And I tell a lot of people this, like me, it's not too late. You can still make that choice even after a certain age, because people feel like, oh, I would have, should have, could have. And if you want to, you do it. And so at 30, now, if I had a choice when I was 18 to go to college like I wanted to or thought about, but life comes in and you don't have those options, I would have done it earlier. But at 30, I kept thinking, my life, a time is going to go by anyway. So why not position myself now so that I'm prepared? It's going to take a while. They were calling me, oh, you're a career student. And I was thinking, no, it just takes this long. It just, because I kept going and going and going. And I knew at my age and getting a master's degree was fine. But I said, no, I need to go a little bit further because I need a few more yeses, because I get no's. My nose got me to where I'm at today. But maybe I can get
no's. People say no because you didn't have a degree.
Yeah, oh yeah. Not only not having a degree, just no's in general, because you're not this, or you're too much of that, or you don't fit this, and no. So how do I get to the yeses, even if I have to make my own yeses? Because I'm an entrepreneur. I work for myself. I work hard. I know what I need. I know my needs. So I'm not under someone else's bubble where I have to work for them. I have to work for me. And in turn, when I work for myself, I work for a whole lot of people. I bring lots and lots of people with me. And partnering with this lady right here, we have expanded out to a reach that is just beyond us. So now we are living in purpose, doing things that excite us now, that we're passionate about, and still can make a little money, a living, and be happy as a result. Even though, it sounds, oh, everything's great. We're not exempt from, life hitting us.
Well,
Okay.
I want to compliment you because what I'm hearing you say, it's not just going back to college. It was you saying yes to you. You wanting to do something and it's saying yes. And what I've learned in my short life of less than, well, it's 63 years, is that literally the yes is what's most powerful. When you open up the vista of life itself, uh, as Georgia started us off on, and say the education is literally life itself. And if we understand that and we literally leverage all of our experiences daily and we learn from them, we that A we're looking for in life, that achievement, that success, that manifestation of our dreams, it happens. It happens. And so the education was your path to yes. Both of you, entrepreneurship was your response to your yes to yourself. And I want to hear a little bit more from you, Georgia, as we begin to, before we go into the second question, because you did something that a lot of folks would say, oh, you barely get by. Why'd you get married? Just because you had a child? Well, you did it, but will you and your husband be successful? We hope so. And not only were you both wildly successful, um, when your husband transitioned, you had his rather successful business that you took on yourself. You did a yes in a way that to me would have been a shock to the system. Can you describe that? Because you had your business, your husband died. He was in an arena that was unheard of for a man of his color. He's a black man, beautiful black man. Can you describe that for us in brief?
Um, I got a little bit distracted because I think my battery's going down, so I want to
Okay.
correct that in a little bit here. But let me just say that a lot of what we did as young people, we just knew our dream. We knew what we wanted. We wanted to care for our family. We wanted to take care of our family. We wanted to prove to everybody that said you're not going to make it. We were the youngest couple and all of our friends were single and still having fun, and here we are raising a child. And I think I don't know that I mentioned maybe in our interview that I helped him through getting his degree. I did a lot
Correct.
of papers. I did a lot of work on his behalf. So I'll often say that I got my college education vicariously through him because I did a lot of his work. And I was an achiever in school. And I have to say that my being achiever wasn't necessarily from a healthy place. I wanted to please my parents. I liked the response I got when I brought A's home, B's home, when I got awards. I'm like, wow, because these were not my natural parents. They did not have to take me in. So when I saw that that pleased my mother, that really, and I saw how hard she worked in real estate. She actually was the catalyst for me deciding to go into real estate. So basically, as I continued to move through with, in marriage, having addition, 3 children, ultimately, my focus was on raising my children, being an example for them, hardworking. My husband was hardworking. The downside of that is our kids didn't get as much of our quality time because we were so busy trying to improve our lives and improve life for them. So they became latchkey kids or somebody else watching them, but they watched us. And today I'm proud to say that all my children have been in long-term marriages. Divorce has not been a conversation. They work through their issues, and they saw that as an example in their dad and I. We had our issues, but we were committed. And when he passed, it was like a place. It was always Fred in Georgia, Fred in Georgia. Everybody was Fred in Georgia, and then all of a sudden it was just Georgia. And then it was like, who is Georgia anyway? Who am I? And within that couple, we were so united and in sync with what it is we were driven to do that now I had to make that adjustment and embrace who I was and discover who I really had become out of the context of being in a marriage and continuing to just go through my grief, go through whatever I need to do. But there was still, still always that achiever in me, where I needed to achieve. I had set that tone for myself. And so failure wasn't an option. And I didn't look at it as failure. It's like, okay, that didn't work. So now what can I do? How can I recreate myself? Part of that came from going through 6 moves in 10 years in corporate America with him. Every place we moved, we were, we had to make that adjustment. So again, my battery is going low. Should I just go ahead, let you take over here, and I want to plug in?
Yeah,
so
go ahead. I'll add a little bit to that. And you
I just need to plug it up.
No problem. Let me just share that part of what I was inspired by, and only part about these two women, is how Georgia chose to close her business down. And that must have been very challenging, to say the least, emotionally as well as just otherwise. And then take on her husband's business and ensure its success in an area where he was remarkable internationally. And so we're going to come back to that, Georgia, but I want to go to the second question and then ask the two of you to describe what Dr. Angela began, which is, what are some ways you have invested in yourselves as individuals and as a team? And I want to foreshadow some things that we may have time to talk about. And these things are key to your relationship. 1 is collaboration. 2 is masterminding. And 3 is, and I'm looking at my notes, service-centered resources. And we may have a chance to get there, but I really want you to share a little bit more about the nature of your relationship and how you've invested in it, and literally how you've taken the 100% of each one of you and the investment that you make in yourselves and brought that into this remarkable professional relationship. Go for it, Dr. Angela, as a compliment.
Okay, thank you. I knew I needed someone, and I needed a special someone, not just anyone. I needed someone to help me, guide me, protect me. And in return, what can I give you as well? Because I always think it should be win-win in any collaboration. And when I met Georgia, which I was referred to her, we clicked right away. She looks like my family. She's spiritual. You know how that law of attraction, even with a person, you feel them. She's God-fearing, and she's always putting me, things I say, she'll say, Angela, and I'm right. And then she'll, and I say, okay. But working with someone is really important to make sure you know the strengths and weaknesses of one another. And also tap into some of the things that they can share with you. I remember when I was a little girl, one girl we were like teenagers, almost 19. And she was from Philadelphia. She had street smart. Me, I had finished all those beauty pageants by the time of 19, knowing, well, that's not taking me anywhere. I'm done. So I tried to help her how to walk, maybe put her makeup on, things like that. So we balanced that out, and we became one with just our strengths and weaknesses. So I took that into life and said, whenever you're collaborating, you have to know, what are you bringing to the table, for one, and team up with someone who has good values, who knows their business. I always hang with people who are smarter than me, who know more, and I don't mind. And that's good, because I want to learn. And at the same time, I have a wealth of knowledge and information, and I grew up with a family of 10, so I'm very humble. People look at me sometime and misjudge me. And when they get to know me, because I hear this a lot, oh, I didn't know you were funny. I didn't know, I didn't know you were down to earth. and I said, am I riding on a high horse here? Or it's the perspective that other people are seeing. But when you find someone who you have a lot in common with, and then all that talent, this lady knows how to be really creative and make marketing videos and doing all this stuff. And we created this forum where we co-host for our real estate, where we teach so many people. And then we have at least 15 core people that come in every Sunday. How does that happen? It's some kind of a magic. So I'll stop there so I'm not rambling on about this. But I am happy that I am partnering with Georgia W. Richardson.
Georgia, what say you?
Well, I ditto everything that she's saying. Basically, is we're leveraging our strengths. I also had a background in professional modeling, and I think we mutually admire each other, both on a physical. Yeah, I look at women who really put themselves. I love that. I learned from it. We've gotten so close in that sometimes we come on our forum and we've got almost the same thing on. So
Yeah.
I love it.
I often say we're turning into each other. But I think more importantly is God's in the center of it all. We have a common thread there in our spiritual walk, and we are building a team brand. I have been used to being on my own, doing my thing, doing it for me, people watching, and I had no clue that people were taking note of what I was doing. I'm simply doing what I was doing me. I'm doing Georgia. And in the course of that, it's impacting people though. So when we find we're still gelling, we're still learning to work with one another. And I would say in teamwork, it's important to be honest and trust the other person, say something to them, give them the benefit of the doubt that they're courageous enough or can take whatever you have to say, process it. And I think now we know each other well enough. She knows that I'm not going to ever say anything or do anything intentionally, to try to hurt or do anything to her, and vice versa. So it opens that when you're feeling something, talk about it. Don't let it fester, because it can turn into something more than it should because there's no conversation. So again, it's been a process. We've been working together now for a little over a year. And each day that we interact and are doing things together, we're learning more and we're impacting the people. It's morphed. Our forum started out to be one thing, and it's morphed now into a community. As one of our speakers said, we have a community of people that come in on a regular basis to hear the speakers that we bring in. It's not just to tout us, it's to share knowledge, to share information that's real estate related, and also around self-care. And it's morphing into even more. So it's a pleasure, to have somebody that I can work with, that I feel comfortable with, and that I think that we can really build a brand and we can really benefit the community. My sphere of influence, along with having her assistance and help and helping her build her identify. Even she'll often say, well, I don't have that. Yes, you do. You've got a big sphere that she needs to tap into. And she's building her business. I'm still building mine from past clients, but then there's things that we do together to help one another, targeting certain areas to work in. So we're learning, growing, drawing on each other's strengths, and building a brand.
I love it. I love it. Chief among what you've said, and there's so many pieces, is that you're leveraging each other's strengths. And when we come into partnership, that's the most valuable aspect. Everyone has strengths, even if they're not aware of those strengths. And the degree to which you have honesty, you have trust that you are building, that you're sustaining, that you're reinforcing, that you're manifesting through even the relationships you build together is powerful. And what did you say? Honesty, trust, benefit of the doubt, clarity of information sharing, feel something, talk about it. And the fact that you're taking what you're building together you created this forum for other professionals, and it's morphed from just presentations, gathering some factual information that people can apply, to actually this whole area that people are like, why are you talking about self-care? Why are you because literally the degree to which we're healthy, that's part of the wealth equation. It's not just faith, it's not just family. You've got to be fit, you have to be healthy. And if you're healthy, the family is probably better off. Undoubtedly, if you're healthy, your faith deepens. But short of having the balance of those five, including sound finance, including fun, joy, happiness, you don't really experience wealth. And I know you're about intergenerational wealth building, right?
Right.
Absolutely.
How,
Mhm.
so when I
I'd
started
like
to
to
go,
add, I'd like to, I'd like to add in there, Dr. Webb, that this whole notion of team and collaborating, I experienced that in my marriage. A
mm,
lot of, a lot of, working, leveraging each other's strengths, appreciating talents that one has, allowing them to flow in their gifts and talents, where you're not competing, you're simply leveraging the strengths and making each other look good. My husband
mm,
was a charismatic personality. I let him flow in that. I wasn't a jealous wife and all that, because he had women everywhere, loved him, right? But we leverage, we go places and they look at me and he act the same regardless, right? But it's like it was never a competition. We knew what we were doing, we knew what we wanted, and we were leveraging that. And when I got into real estate, he wasn't used to me being in the limelight in a career. He laid back and allowed me to shine, which I appreciated. It wasn't like, well, no, getting uncomfortable with it. He helped me with it. At one
mm.
point, he said, you know what? I can't continue to be the banker Fred. When I first got started, I had to keep going to him for money to get, he said, you got to do this on your own. Otherwise, you have a hobby. And
Good for
right now you
him.
have a hobby. And all I needed was that little extra to make me, to push me. So I had to add that in there.
Awesome.
Give him
Awesome.
that credit.
Yes. And that's why he was brilliant in his business, you were in yours, and you two, because of your learned experiences, you, Dr. Angela, being in a household with all those people, you had to negotiate in order to ensure a peaceful household, right? You had to understand how to influence in order to be in a peaceful household. So whether it is fundamentally at in your early reared experiences, or young adult, or your older adult, get some of these kernels of truth. When you build a relationship, if there's not trust, you have no relationship. When you go to advance a partnership, if you don't understand how to collaborate, figure it out. If you don't understand the power of masterminding and what are the benefits of masterminding, you get to advise the other. You get to extend your network to the other. You get to learn new things that you would otherwise not know. You get to think in ways that actually helps to reshape your mental paradigm, and maybe take you out of whatever may constrict you or restrict you from seeing possibilities. That's the power of masterminding and much more. Now, you don't have a mastermind with another or with even others unless you have at the core trust, right? And you
Right.
can't have trust unless you communicate, because you don't really, unless you're a complete savant, a complete knower, a seer of everything, you can't have what you want unless you communicate in all the ways possible. And then the fact that you two are together building basically a service oriented resource space for folks. Talk about that a little bit more. You talk about this forum you built. What is the forum, so that people who may be interested may be able to tap into it? Where do they find out about the forum, et cetera?
Angela, I'll let you take this
I'll,
one.
I'll start. Okay. Yeah, the forum. I know we call it a forum, like everybody knows the forum, right? The forum is a Zoom forum that we do every Sunday. It's a real estate forum. It's a Q&A, and it's called Ask the experts. And we have experts come on, mostly real estate related experts and professionals. However, we just recently had someone talking about motivation and self-care and do you. And that was important to all of us in our growth, because it's not all about business. It's about how do you balance it. But our forum, again, it's something that Georgia and I started talking about, and I don't know how it started, but before you know it, we were doing it. And every Sunday we get dressed up, ready to go. We get on, we go on to Facebook Live to tell everybody, you know, you're more than welcome to learn about probate, learn about the moratorium, learn about, you know, your estate planning. What about how to buy a home? What are the first steps you need to do to prepare for that? We have people in this forum that I've learned so much. And I'm, as an educator, I want to be constantly educated. Teach me what I don't know. And in this field of real estate, I have learned so much and so fast. And I think it's such a blessing that I had the opportunity to get in a community where I'm co-hosting, and at the same time, I'm sitting there in the audience, listening and learning. So Georgia, she probably want to add a little bit more to what we do and why and where. And
Well, basically, it started out as an idea to be a forum for buyers and sellers to potentially cultivate business. That we found over time as we invited people in, inclusive of other real estate agents. You know, it's like, I don't know, let's bring in some speakers. And the folks that joined us when we would put the advertisement out there that came in were some were real estate professionals. Some knew me from a forum that I used to do at Merit with a Guy Forkner. So some of them are students, and after Guy passed, they heard I was doing a forum and they thought it was similar, you know, to what I was doing there. So they joined in. We still have a couple of those that show up every week that are getting their license and want to learn as much as they can. They're soaking it in. We have investors, we have lenders, property managers, you name it. And what's amazed us is that they continue to support. So we know that we're adding value. Not everybody takes their Sunday afternoon from 6 to 7 or evening, you know, away to come to an hour forum. We try to keep it at an hour so we don't keep people overtime. But it has morphed into something bigger than we had anticipated. And now we're at a place where we're busy with our business. So we're making it every 2 weeks. And we'll be continue to have speakers come in on primarily real estate related subjects, and then also network, help each other, support one another. And that's really, really important.
Now, they can find out more if they go to just to your LinkedIn site. Is that correct?
probably more the Facebook.
Okay.
We have a Facebook group page.
Okay.
Facebook group page. Real Estate
Can you tell us the name?
Q&A. Ask the expert. Real Estate
You said it's
Forum Q&A. Oh, I may be cutting out. Angela, you want
Okay, yeah, it's called, yes, Real Estate Forum Q&A, Ask the Experts. And it'll come right up, Real Estate Forum Q&A. And then we have previous broadcast on there. We have information that some of the other members want to share. They do that. You just go there. It's a wealth of information, plenty of videos and information that if you're looking for something in particular, the title is there, or you can come in live with us every Sunday or every other Sunday. We give out notifications and it's 6 p.m. to 7 p.m.
perfect. Perfect. Well, I have a question to ask you, Georgia. When we talked initially, you said something that stuck with me. You basically said that all of us should get uncomfortable, be uncomfortable, get uncomfortable, be uncomfortable. There was more to it, but can you explain why you said that and what does that mean to you?
That came out of a conversation in a diversity, equity, and inclusion task force that I was in. People are uncomfortable talking about certain subjects. And it is important that each of us learn to be comfortable with that uncomfortability. Speakers, right before they go on, entertainers, they get butterflies, they get nervous, but they still push through it and deliver. So when we're talking about subject matter that is not comfortable, that's where growth happens. That's when you push beyond your own thoughts and imaginations or perceptions or assumptions, because you're not comfortable discussing it. So if we can all make it our point to say, okay, I'm uncomfortable, but I'm going to start getting comfortable with being uncomfortable and say what I have to say, share what I have to share, and growth happens.
And the power of that is not just in giving a presentation. It's not just being part of a forum where you're hearing things that are difficult to hear, but they're relevant and they're important to hear. It's also being in relationship and your professional relationships with a team, with your employer, with your colleagues, with people who report to you, also people you choose to work with as the two of you. And then, of course, in your private life, with family, with your intimate partner, getting uncomfortable and being uncomfortable is critical. And then the more you do it, you get to the place where you can be uncomfortable. I mean, be comfortable with getting uncomfortable. I don't know if I'm saying it correctly, but you get it. Yes. And Nicole Hardy writes, growth does happen in moments of discomfort. She hit the nail on the head. You're on it, Nicole. You got her. Yeah. You want to add more, Dr. Angela? I know when we talked about this earlier, you're like, I want to talk about that.
Well, as a diversity and equity and inclusion trainer and consultant, we do talk about get uncomfortable with being uncomfortable. And that's, nobody ever died of discomfort that I know of. And I think it's important. It almost goes back to saying, feel the fear and do it anyway. And again, it's part of the growth process of just do it. Because if you're afraid, that's like leaping out on faith, or even though you're going to leap over a mountain, you're still going to be okay. Or you're at that edge. I always think about that little cat that says, hang in there, baby. Like you're almost getting ready to fall. But then, things happen. So just, in that moment of being uncomfortable, maybe take a moment and think about it. Is this something that I could do that, just challenge myself, just do it, go for it. And that's what I say about being uncomfortable, be uncomfortable with being uncomfortable, and just go for it.
Now, you said something in a recent conversation too, Dr. Angela, that I took note of, and that is this whole notion of power, standing for something. And you said, what do you stand for? And that was a rhetorical question, but really it's a question for all of us. What do we stand for? And so what did you mean by that? Why did that come to mind?
Well, I mean, I can think of a lot of ways to approach that, but something that just popped in my mind on that when you just mentioned it is you're not only standing up for yourself, you're standing up for others. Now, I wrote my dissertation on bullying, and because all of us have been bullying and using this restorative justice practice. But when you learn about bullying, you learn to be an upstander. Sometimes the bullying may not be happening to you, but it's happening to someone else. How do you stand up for someone else, not only for yourself? Because I think that's what you mean, what I meant when you're being a stand-up person. It's your character, it's what you believe in, back to your integrity, anything good about you. So again, be that upstander. And I think that's the point I want you to walk away with on this one, is be an upstander for someone else. And then you know that you've done everything you could to help someone else. And that's part of being an upstanding person.
The power of leveraging the University of Life. Why should people invest in self? Why should individuals take the time to have a clue about the self? Start with you, Georgia.
Well, first of all, there's greatness in every one of us. Many of us may not have tapped into it. And I feel that too often we depend on somebody else to sustain us through a paycheck. Not that working for corporate America or working for another company isn't a start, but at some point, people let you down. Companies let you down. If you invest in yourself, trust in God, trust in your natural abilities and gifts that surface at some point in your life, you recognize really what your gifts are. And when you're operating in those gifts, that's when you're successful, because you're doing something that it's your purpose to do. And it flows. When you're struggling and you're unhappy, you don't want to get out of bed to go to work, you don't want to do whatever it is you're doing, you're not doing what your purpose is. So as I look at any advice that I'd have, want to give to anybody around being an entrepreneur, and just knowing that there is no such thing as failure. You just learn through it. You don't consider it a failure. You learn through that. And you pick yourself up and recreate yourself, because you have the Spirit of God within you, and your words, as you know, our thoughts, our words, our actions become our reality. And those can be devastating if you're thinking the wrong things, or they can make greatness from the creativity that we have within us. So there's always that saying to be careful about what you're thinking about, because those thoughts eventually end up being an action or manifest itself. So I would just say, trust in the God-given talents that are in us, tap into that, seek guidance outside of people. They have a certain amount of wisdom. If you're led to it, that's one thing, but don't seek, like Angela was saying earlier, people are saying, oh, you should do this. Oh, you should do that. Try this, try that. Go within yourself, within yourself where that peace is. And that's what I try to do, is follow peace. When I'm not at peace about something, I try not to make a decision, anything, unless I find peace there. And I get that leading, okay, I have peace about this. Let's go on. If I'm all stirred up inside, I have to talk about it. I have to get it out and get to a place where I have peace again. So follow peace.
Ah, that is powerful. That is powerful. Follow peace. Wow. Dr. Angela?
What is the question?
It's saying whatever you want to say about why leverage the University of Life. Why is it powerful when one literally invests in herself?
Oh, right. And that's what I was thinking about, investing in yourself. And the one thing I want to mention about, no matter what you do, when you invest in yourself, you have to start with yourself. What is it that you're putting in your body? What is it? How do you dress? How do you show up in a room? How do you want to present yourself? I feel like now I'm just finally eating like an adult. I'm finally growing up and saying, oh, the most fun out of eating is preparing it.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Isn't it? You cut your onions and
you put your love in it. Yes.
You put the love into it, and then it tastes good. It tastes better. That's part of it, investing into yourself. And I meditate. So you don't know what's going on in my life right now. I'm doing 1,000 things and handling every last one of them. So when I get off this broadcast, I got 1,000 things to do, but I make sure I get enough rest. I take my Epsom salt baths.
I love Epsom salt baths.
Yes. Yes. I light my candles. I take my deep breaths and
Oh,
out. So, yeah, just don't forget about you. I think that's really important.
I love it. Don't forget about you. Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm. I'm just being quiet for a moment. I think follow peace and don't forget about you. Hmm. Both of those just require a little bit of space and time to digest. Wow. I honor both of you. And I deeply appreciate the fact that you care enough about your individual selves to do the kind of work that you're encouraging the rest of us to do, and that you care enough about the other to complement each other in that on that journey, and that you care about more of us to expose more of us to that journey. Um, my deepest gratitude to each one of you. I'm very proud of you,
Thank you.
No, we
and uh,
appreciate your having us on.
it's my honor. And you probably saw Tracy Williams earlier says, "Thank you, ladies." I am certain other people are saying that from their television, wherever they're at, watching television or looking at this online. And Nicole says, "This hit me hard. Truthfully, I often forget about me." And let's just make this plain. Many of us do. When COVID hit last year, I listened to a lot of folks and they slowed down in ways that some of them said they had never experienced before. They didn't even know what they knew were learning about themselves, their needs, etc. And many got depressed because they were overwhelmed with the life that they had created that really didn't sync with who they had the capacity to be, right? And so the words
Right.
that you two are speaking is
Yeah.
just absolutely remarkable. And um, I want to honor your time. And again, thank you again for choosing to show up, be with authenticity, and demonstrate what the power of trust and what I call it really, what you've both been describing and what you shared with me is a level of unconditional love that's palpable. So why don't? Any last words you'd like to share?
I'll say I want to thank you for allowing us to, just being in your space. And
Yeah.
and after meeting you, I knew there was a reason that we all were together, because that back to that power and that feeling of being in the right place at the right time. And just want to be grateful and thankful, and thank you, and thank you too, Georgia, for being here.
Yeah. Well, and the same for me, Dr. Webb. Thank you very much for this opportunity. It's been great, and I still want that resume.
Yeah. And thank the audience too, because
Yeah.
to sit through an hour listening to some ladies talk. Wow. Oh gosh. So hopefully it was something you got from it. So thank you, audience.
Oh, this
Yeah.
was awesome. And one of our local gems, Joyce Gordon, shares, "I really needed to hear this today. Thank you for sharing." And Nicole says, "Thank you, needed this today as well." And I'm sure others. And we just want you to remind you of your inherent greatness as beautifully conveyed by Georgia. And the degree to which we live our greatness, oh my God, the world transforms in an instant. And so all the stuff that's happening around the planet can be healed in an instant if and when we choose to be in that healthier space that we all have the capacity to be. So with that, I want to thank you again, my guest, my remarkable woman guest, professional guest, remarkable women of wisdom, for leading with distinction. My honor.
Thank you. Thank you.
And as I place them in the back of the studio, I want to thank you again, those who choose to tune in to Lead Live. We have much more to share over the subsequent weeks, and thank you for joining. And more importantly, we thank you for choosing to be inspired, to be an inspiration, to make a difference in your life. Because we know when you make a positive difference in your life, you're just automatically wired to pay it forward. And so thank you for paying it forward. And thank you in advance for those of you who are just getting a clue about your greatness. Thank you in advance for you paying it forward. Wadom.